Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Zscaler from ZK Research, and I'm here at Zscaler's headquarters, and I'm joined by Naresh Kumar, your VP Product Management for Zscaler. Just a quick intro to yourself and a bio, and tell us what Zscaler does.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Naresh Kumar, VP of Product here at Zscaler. I've been with Zscaler for close to 8 years, and I'm responsible for Zero Trust branch connectivity. Zscaler is a cloud security platform providing cloud security services for all enterprises across the globe. And we have Fortune 100 customers, Global 2000 customers, and many of those we are getting security services and Zero Trust connectivity from us.
Yeah, you guys kind of came out of nowhere, right? Changed the whole security model away from being totally on-prem to being in the cloud.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the big transformations we do for our customers is help them go from traditional hub and spoke type of architectures to a completely SaaS-based cloud-delivered security services.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up hub and spoke, because we're going to be talking SD-WAN and security, of course, tied to that. Now, and the reason I say it's a good thing you brought up hub and spoke is because traditional branch office architecture is built off hub and spoke. We typically had one headquarter and then a bunch of kind of medium-sized branches, things like that. But that's all changed today, right? Where there's less of those bigger branches and more of those cafe-like type branches. So can you talk a little bit of what that means when we say cafe-like branch experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It is important to understand what has changed, especially post-COVID. As you start seeing all the employees for enterprises post-COVID started going out working from anywhere. It could be coffee shops, it could be working from airports or home or wherever they are. But the key part is with Zscaler solutions, with Zscaler Private Access, they really don't have to worry about what is the underlying network. Is it a trusted network? Is it an untrusted network? Who is providing that? So it's as good as you go to coffee shop, you just open your laptop, you get connected to your Salesforce application. You don't have to think about what you need to enter, whether you're behind firewall or nothing.
Or VPN.
It's kind of connect wherever you are and make the network very much transport.
What I've always found frustrating for users too is that depending on the app you use, there's different connectivity methods, right? So if you're using an application that's on the internal network, you need to bring up your VPN.
Yes.
If you're using a web-based application, you go to this, you might proxy it, right? And so the different types of apps all had different access methodologies, and we left it up to the user to figure that out, right?
And that builds a lot of complexity and user experience challenges, because once you start giving these instructions to your end user on you do this work for these applications and you do different way of connecting, and it confuses them, and that's exactly where security risks lie.
Yeah, I find that users also will just defer to the easiest method.
Absolutely.
Right, and so even if they're using web-based apps, they might VPN in just because they think they always have to, and that just creates a backdoor, right?
Absolutely, and poor user experience.
Yeah, and now with the rise of cloud, too, there's a lot more direct user-to-app traffic, correct? And so you talk about that trend where it's not even hitting the corporate network.
Yeah. So that's a big shift, right? If you see traditionally when SD-WANs were building this connectivity from one site to another site, there were a lot of assumptions. One of the big assumptions is my users are going to sit in my locations and they will access these applications. So it is very important for SD-WAN solutions to focus on how do I prioritize my traffic and what goes where. And also you need to have a specific policies. If he's in a location, what is he allowed to access? If he goes home, how does he connect? The method, the access policy, and the applications permissions are different. So it is very complex, and that's what the end user experience need to evolve in the new connectivity model.
Yeah, and to help with security, we actually forced the traffic that didn't need to be on the corporate network. Yeah, we would go from the cloud-based app to the corporate headquarter, back out to the branch. That created that trombone effect.
Exactly, and then that exactly where user experience challenges come, and you have access to more than what you need to have, and so on.
Yeah, now for all the kind of hype and momentum around SD-WAN, security still remains a concern, right? It's not like it solved, it might have made the network a little more efficient, but it didn't solve security problems. Why is that?
Yeah, so if you take a little bit, go back into history, 7 years ago, 8 years ago when SD-WAN started, it's no doubt it's one of the amazing technology shifts happened. It simplified the network. It has brought automation. It has brought cloud-based orchestration and management to configuring networks and so on. But the foundational piece missing in SD-WAN is security, because they always assumed that the sites would connect to some hub site or data centers, and from there they would egress and they have a full stack of security. And that's where SD-WANs did not put security first thinking, was one of the big challenges. And the second thing is, even though SD-WANs tried to make this whole automation and network simplicity, they fundamentally did not change the way you connect these sites to headquarters. It uses site-to-site VPN.
Yeah.
Every SD-WAN vendor out there today uses one or other form of a VPN to connect these sites, which is a huge challenge from a lateral threat movement and attack surface.
Yeah, I actually think when it comes to complexity, in some ways for security, SD-WAN made things more complicated.
Absolutely.
Because with the hub and spoke, you had one way to deploy it. Now with SD-WAN, I can go fully meshed, I can go partially meshed, I can go, regional.
Local internet breakouts.
Yeah,
that creates
regional hub. And so the question is, where do I put my security? I could put it at the branch site, I could put it at the user, I could put something on a client, I could put it in the regional hub. And I think all of that has confused the IT buyer. What are you seeing from customers there?
Oh yeah, we see customers have exactly same challenges. They are not still able to get rid of those firewalls. To your point, they have firewalls in the data center, they have firewalls in the branch offices, just because they need to break out locally. So since SD-WANs do not have a great security capabilities built in with them, it definitely have a need to put a firewall. And those firewalls, as the traffic volume increase and they are encrypted, you cannot do SSL inspection on those small firewalls. So effectively, you
can put a big firewall everywhere.
Exactly, you need a big firewall as the traffic volume goes up.
Yeah.
So effectively, it creates the security challenge of you cannot go take all the traffic to the data center, or if you want to break out, you're compromising on security.
Yeah, and I was sort of joking about it. Like, even if you could afford to put a big firewall everywhere, the amount of complexity of can you imagine trying to manage your policies across?
Absolutely, there is a policy problem, and more importantly, it is about the way firewalls does security. It is very difficult for firewalls to scale, especially handling SSL interception and do a context-based security services. So that's where you need bigger and beefier firewalls to address that, and even then, the approach they take doesn't solve all security.
Now, I know Zscaler is looking to solve this problem with the vision that you've articulated called Zero Trust Branch Connectivity. So can you talk about that and explain what that is?
Absolutely. So if you look at what Zscaler does from a Zero Trust Exchange as a platform perspective, we provide customers with a true Zero Trust connectivity, whether the user is coming from office, coffee shop, no matter where they are coming. So effectively, we have a visibility of who the user is, and we have integrations with identity providers to know the identity side of it. And then once we inspect the traffic, we have a full context of what activity is going on so that we can adapt a security services. And more importantly, when you're connecting to your private applications, it's an outbound architecture. So you're never given access directly to a network or application without going through the Zero Trust framework of principles and connectivity. So what we are doing in our vision with branch connectivity is we are protecting more than a few millions of users connecting to Zscaler through Zero Trust Exchange, and we want to solve the problem of zero trust for branch offices, because in branch offices, most of it is a network-to-network connection, and it doesn't have any zero trust principles applied there. As long as you have a route reachability and trusted network on other side, you put a point-to-point VPN tunnel, you distribute the routes, and you're everywhere. And you solve the problem by putting these firewalls which are not able to address the security concerns. So our vision is simply to take this zero trust capability to every non-user endpoint which is sitting in the branch offices, like printers, cameras, you name everything where there is no agent or agent cannot be installed on them. So branch connector as a network function enables our customers to bring zero trust for everything non-user in the branch office.
And zero trust is one of these words in security that I think that's just thrown around.
Yes.
Right. Everything is zero trust. So explain what zero trust is and why, because I hear firewall vendors saying that they have zero trust VPN and things, right? Why that's not zero trust?
So at simple terms, you're very right. Everyone has a flavor of zero trust nowadays. So from a Zscaler standpoint, zero trust starts with identifying and authenticating the user. Once I identify the user, authenticate the user, you then have enough context about the user in terms of what activity he's doing, where he is going. And once we understand the traffic and look into the patterns and the content, what he's doing within, like downloading files, uploading files, what's going on, we can apply a lot of security services and data protection. It is simply about knowing where the connection is coming from, whether they are authenticated and authorized user, understanding the context of where they are going and what risk does that pose, and then you allow the access, making sure their right user is going to the right application and nothing bad is coming inside. So simply it's four things: identity, visibility, context, and security.
And so why can't a firewall do that?
Firewalls cannot do, because simply if you want to do this, you have to SSL. If you look at traffic going out to internet, it's 98% of the traffic today is SSL based, all the cloud applications and everything.
Yeah.
So pretty much every transaction you have to SSL inspect that. You have to break and inspect the traffic, look into the content, understand the context, and build this. Simply, it needs a lot of resources on the firewalls, and the moment you turn on SSL on any firewall appliance, they significantly drop the performance.
Yeah.
And they cannot. And the traffic patterns are evolving. The growth of traffic from end user is growing year over year. So simply, firewalls cannot catch up to the speed at which the applications are consumed by users.
Yeah, one of the data points in my research survey I ran last year, I think it was 45% of the respondents said they knowingly turn features off in favor of
Yes.
performance, right? Because some of these things have such a drag on it.
Yes.
Where the cloud doesn't, right? You have almost infinite capacity, which is great. So
Exactly. So it's about scale, the
Yeah.
architecture. Choosing the right architecture in cloud enables you to take advantage of the scale for all the security services.
yeah, and so can you talk about some use cases that for things that Zscaler solves today? Like what are some of the key use cases you guys get involved in?
Yeah, so there are three primary use cases we solve for our customers with Zero Trust Branch. The first thing is we replace the need for having a site-to-site VPN. We use a completely true Zero Trust based architecture to connect to our exchange, and a policy is enforced on the Zero Trust exchange. There are two benefits of this use case. By eliminating site-to-site VPN and providing a true Zero Trust overlay architecture, what we do is we provide a complete visibility of what are the devices in the branch offices, what are the devices coming behind these IP addresses. We precisely know whether it's a printer, it's a camera, we have visibility we provide. And the second benefit is customers don't have to maintain a overlay network routing overlay. You don't need BGP, you don't need OSPF with Zscaler.
And that adds a lot of complexity and overhead as well.
It's massive.
Yeah.
If you look at any solution out there, including the SDWANs, everybody still uses BGP to the upstream and OSPF on the LAN side. So we don't have to do that, because for all these locations, a default route is Zscaler. And our global distributed 150 data centers provide the connectivity needed for them in a true Zero Trust fashion. That's the first use case, elimination of site-to-site VPN. The second big use case for us is merger and acquisitions. We have a lot of customers who are going through active acquisitions, and every time they acquire, there are anywhere between 15, 20 to all the way hundreds of locations. If you look at the typical and traditional way of approaching it, you need to wait for a network architecture, overlapping IP addresses, DNS configurations. There is lots of complexity involved. With Zscaler, it doesn't matter whether you have an overlapping IP or whatever network. You can create day one connectivity between critical systems on both sides by just simply enabling. You don't have to deal with VPN concentrators. You don't have to put new infrastructure in place. It really accelerates the M&A activity for our customers and make true Zero Trust possible for the connectivity.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things from when I was at Zenith, I talked to one of your customers, he actually admitted they got rid of all their firewalls. And so that's something, I never actually thought I'd see that, just because people like to have belt and suspenders. And I asked him, I said, did it scare you at first? He goes, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Right? But then he realized that they really weren't doing anything anymore.
Yeah, so firewall-free branch office is one of the initiatives we were driving from Zscaler from quite a few years.
Yeah.
And that is actually getting a lot of attention, and that initiative is getting a lot more support at C-level in every enterprise, because the customers clearly see that firewalls are redundant now. Because if you look at a true SASE architecture and model, you need to go towards a thin model and thick cloud or heavy cloud. So Zscaler has built this scalable cloud architecture, which enables us to provide cloud firewall services across the data centers for any volume of traffic for all ports and protocols. So technically, the solution what we are offering with branch connectivity does whatever is needed to bring zero trust for these endpoints, authenticate, authorize, and send it to Zscaler. And Zscaler can provide all the security services, which eliminates firewall for our customers.
That's got to be huge savings in capital,
Yes.
operational expenses, and maintenance.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is one less device and appliance to worry about and manage and maintain.
Yeah, the other thing with firewalls too is just over time they get so complicated with the rules because no one ever gets rid of firewall rules.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we hear that all the time.
Yeah. So SASE is something which is the combination of SD-WAN and SSE and cloud security that I think a lot of customers would like to do, but because of the complexity of running overlays and underlaying networks and redesigning the network, it's a little too complex for a lot of them. So can you talk about how the Zero Trust Exchange that Zscaler offers can actually help customers get to SASE in a way that's doable, right? That doesn't burden them with too much complexity.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at how SASE has evolved and what problem it solves for customers, SASE gives you that one end-to-end comprehensive platform where you can take advantage of connectivity, security, visibility, and then business insights. So what we do at Zscaler is every connection which comes out of whether it's a user or a printer, machine, or a cloud workload, all of this needs to come through Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange platform. They have one platform to go, one place to create policies and take advantage of all the security services we offer. So that's where we truly differentiate. And compared to all other vendors out there, where they have acquired companies and make it work, which is sort of trying to reverse fit into this whole platform thinking. But we are organically building these products and capabilities from connectivity, security, and visibility and business insights with data protection along with that. That's where our true differentiation. It's an organic end-to-end zero trust connectivity for every endpoint.
Yeah, and it would seem to me that if we're actually going to get to this world where we started talking about the cafe-like branch experience, and an organization that possibly might have had 10 branches might have 1,000 micro branches, right? Cafe-like branches. It seems that with the traditional model of appliance, even if it's software-based appliance, it just isn't scalable anymore, is it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this concept of, you might have heard this, we talk at Zenith Live as well, that the concept of micro branch offices, many enterprises are actually relooking at how the branch offices are going to evolve. They're coming up with the small satellite like WeWork type of offices where you have 4 or 5 salespeople, maybe one printer and one badge reader, that's it, right? So in those type of locations, you don't need any SD-WAN. You don't need any sort of appliance to be there. So we provide Zscaler Client Connector, which is an agent sits on end users and just gives simply connectivity. And that is simplifying our customers in terms of expanding the amount of microsites they can go without having to have a need for any form of appliance in the location.
Yeah, when I look at some of the, with that old hub and spoke model, you could have like an insurance company, for instance, where they have one person in the office, but yet they've got a $2,000 router, a $2,000 firewall, and a bunch of other appliances that are there for one person.
Yes, that's very common.
Yeah.
We have seen many customers, just for one printer, we have seen a customer deploying a Cisco router, Cisco switch, everything. Just what they're doing is just sending a print job to the factory to use the labels for their factory lines. So yeah, we see that like for 1 or 2 devices connectivity, they use a full network.
And I think with your model, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the zero trust architecture actually is more secure. So even though you're taking the firewall out, with that traditional model of VPN, if that printer gets breached, they have access to the entire network.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
That's the core value proposition and how we see our solution differentiating is, as you said, these SD-WANs have connectivity of network to network. One compromised endpoint in one of these networks or VLANs, it has route reachability and routes distributed to all over the place. So you technically can reach to anywhere, and the firewalls only can protect what they can see or whatever signature is applied on them. So technically, the lateral threat movement becomes a lot more challenging.
Yeah, or impossible. All right, Naresh, thanks for joining me. I think I can sum this up by saying there's a lot of talk in the industry about rethinking work and how people work, and along with that, we're going to have to rethink connectivity and security.
Absolutely.
So
it is that time, and thanks for talking to me, and it's a pleasure.
So you can't apply old school connectivity and security models to this new world of work. It just doesn't scale anymore.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep.
All right, on behalf of Naresh Kumar, I'm Zscaler from ZK Research, saying thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on another ZKast.